Well, the 90s certainly began with a bang. Probably our only championship win in all of our history. Division 4 champions, 1990. Had a great team then, absolutely super team, fantastic players, awesome home record. Certainly nothing like that in all of our history. 20 wins out of 23. Didn't even lose to Norwich and Sunderland, who I think were both in the first division at the time, and they came down in the cups and were lucky to scrape draws with us. But it was a great team, fantastic players in there. Kevin Miller, young Scott Hiley and old Clive Whitehead, but they all contributed fantastically to the team. Stevie Neville, I always remember Stevie Neville and Darren Rowbottom up front, who were like the lower level Russian Dalglish. Number of goals that Darren Rowbottom scored was matched by the assist from Steve Neville. He was the creator supreme, I think, and Dazza was just our awesome form. 30 goals by March. The only downside for him was that, of course, he got such a bad knee injury in March that selfishly, from the team's perspective, it didn't stop us going on and winning the title. But for him, it probably ruined a move to Chelsea for about 400,000, which was mooted at the time. But fortunately, the team carried on in awesome form, swept everything before them, and we were wandering around St James Park with a trophy, which was just brilliant. Pitch invasions a lot. It was just a wonderful time. And after that, we moved up a tier, and Terry Cooper was manager, and it got a little bit more difficult for us, really. And Alan Ball came in. A few notable sort of achievements in his time here. We did the double over Plymouth in one season. I think it's the first time we played them in a good few years, and we did 2-0 and a 3-0 win, which clearly went down well with City fans. And he continued the development of a young Martin Phillips, who in the end, Bawley bought when he was at Man City. He bought him for 500,000 at a club record at that time, and stood only till recently. Matt Grimes, 1.75 million was the one that overtook it. So we had kind of good times through, but it sort of started to get a little harder, and the club went into its latest financial meltdown in '94 and ended up having to sell the ground to survive. Probably a fire sale at that time didn't give us the best price ever, and perhaps probably the sale of Martin Phillips was one of the things that helped to survive at the time. Peter Fox came in the mid-90s. He didn't really have a lot to work with, and I think the second half of the decade was pretty tricky times, really, as he had to deal with the club having precious little money. The impact of selling the ground meant that, of course, we didn't have any collateral to work with. So when you're trying to finance things or do things, we had just nothing to work with. Of course, that would then perhaps materialise, and the impact of that would come clear when we went into the next bout of administration in 2003. Desperate times there, club almost going out of existence, but we just had absolutely nothing to work with. So, you sell at the time because it's the right move, but of course, in hindsight, it would have been perhaps best to try to do our utmost just to keep hold of it, because it would have given us something of our own. We would give some collateral to work with, but that wasn't the case, and so be it. But things have worked out. We're still here and still going strong. A little bit more positive sort of sign was right at the end of the decade. We had the redevelopment of what was the cowshed and the big bank, new stands, which are sitting in now. Sadly, it meant that we lost the famous old Primrose Bank, which was long in front of the cowshed. Very famous sort of around football as a little sort of unique thing, another one of our little unique foibles that we had at the park. But I do know that lots of primroses, or future generations of those original primroses, do exist around Exeter. So it wasn't so bad. They're still there if you want to find them somewhere around Exeter. So started the decade on a bang, ended it with perhaps a little positive note in the terms of the ground was sort of getting a makeover. But there were tougher times ahead in the noughties.